What's up, everybody? We're going to be talking about the necessary evils of Yu-Gi-Oh! And we're going to discuss about the pendulum mechanic in general, and how people think that anti-spell fragments and Naturia beasts are completely ban-worthy, and they're totally unfair for the game, and it makes Yu-Gi-Oh! Really hard to play. Are you nuts? Haven't you noticed that if either of these cards get hit, there's going to be other cards that are going to replace it. Sure, a lot less accessible cards, but still cards to replace it nonetheless. I think it's very stupid to take out Naturia Beast and anti-spell fragments because they keep pendulum decks in check. If they weren't, then if they weren't, and there was a very good healthy amount of both pendulum decks and unpendulum decks, then I would say, yeah, sure, these cards could be considered a problem for in most cases. But as of right now, it gives other decks a chance to make a chance to combat pendulum decks. But I've also noticed that pendulum decks are starting to incorporate, Naturia based into their main decks. But you have to keep into consideration that Naturia based has only been good right now. It's only been good that way. I'm sure there's been a few spikes here and there where Naturia Beast has been pretty good, but it's never been this good. It's never been this amazing. Now people might say, well, isn't that a reason to ban it? I'm like, no, because it's probably only going to last as long as pendulums are around, and if pendulums last forever, then maybe I could see the argument there. But I honestly doubt that if Konami wants people to keep playing this game, they won't force pendulum monsters down our throats. I also think that cards like these are necessary evils, much like I said this much like to the extent of Evil Swarm Exciton Knight and Vanity's Emptiness. I thought both cards were necessary evils for the game. Sure, they might have created an impossible board state where cards might seem where these cards might seem really too good, and people often complain about Exciton Knight in particular, rewarding you for playing badly. That is not the case. I've been meaning to talk about this for quite some time now. Evil Swarm Exciton Knight does not do that. It's a comeback mechanic. So, by your logic, I mean the person who says this, I can win if I win with Dark Hole. Well, that needs to be banned because it rewards for playing badly. I can turn around and say the same argument that Wavering Eyes rewards you from playing badly, because it does. I mean, you could be in the worst situation in the game, but you play Wavering Eyes here, and well, you come back into the game. You blow up 4 pendulum monsters. You get the maximum effect. You can add another Wavering Eyes to your hand. You can banish a card from the field. You can search another pendulum monster, and you can inflict 500 points of damage to your opponent. I mean, that seems pretty rewarding for playing awfully. If you're in a losing position, Wavering Eyes, I guess should be banned, right? By that logic. But still, I honestly think that these cards are necessary evils for the game, and really, if you really want to ban cards that aren't really necessary into the game, you should really ban Plushfire and or Ariadne. But since Ariadne just came out, they won't hit. They won't kill Ariadne right now, but they will kill Plushfire, because Plushfire is not once a turn. So it seems pretty stupid to say that, well, these cards need to be banned because, well, they prevent me from playing my deck. Even though you kind of have to play around cards like these. It adds skill. They add skill to the game, and they add a better matchup for decks that are inherently weak against pendulum decks. That's what I see here. Also, speaking of cards that might even just replace anti-spell fragments and Naturia Beast, these two cards might replace them. Twin Twister and Pendulum Swords. Twin Twister has already made its debut dramatically, and I can't really blame it because, well, Twin Twister is an amazing card. It's replaced MST in countless other decks, and it's even replaced Wavering Eyes to an extent in some decks. But I honestly think that Pendulum Storm, if either of these two cards get the hammer, this card will take its place almost immediately. Why? Because, well, you blow up your opponent's pendulum scales, and you get to blow up another back row. But what if your opponent doesn't have a back row? Well, then that just fizzles. In the worst case scenario, you +2 off that because you killed 2 pendulum monsters. Also, other cards that are equally as problematic for you guys. Let me scroll down to them and let me add them. I forgot to add them because it just came to me. This card and this card. These cards are equally as problematic for you as Anti-Spell Fragments and Naturia Beast are. Sure, it doesn't prevent you from playing Pendulum monsters themselves, but if the Pendulum monsters die, by any means, they get banished. Under Macrocosmos in particular, if you flip this card on a Pendulum deck and you simultaneously activate Twin Twister, you're going to win that game because Twin Twister banishes them. Will banish them from that point forward. Sure, you might say, well, these cards are at 1, so they're not really that big of a deal. But they're a pretty big deal in a lot of decks that don't run Pendulum decks. I play Cypherms, and well, these cards work fantastically against Pendulum-based decks because, well, it's really hard for them to come back from that. So I feel like the argument that Anti-Spell Fragments and Naturia Beast being too good for the game is pretty just unintelligent, and it's just not good enough to warrant its banning. Like, the current state is not good enough for it. So anyway, tell me what you guys think about Anti-Spell Fragments or Naturia Beast. Do you think these cards should be banned? Do you think they shouldn't be? Tell me why in the comment section below. Anyway, signing out.